Coming to get you, Bobber.
Hush is a 2016 horror movie directed by Mike Flanagan, and it stars John Gallagher Jr. and Kate Siegel. As this is a somewhat older movie now, guys, this is going to be a spoiler review. A deaf and mute writer who retreated into the woods to live a solitary life must fight for her life in silence when a masked killer appears at her window. Okay guys, so I'm going to start with the elephant in the room. For those of you who don't know, this is a controversial movie for me because a lot of people who review this film and a lot of people today still say that this movie is a very original movie, is a great original idea by Mike Flanagan. And he might have innocently thought that this was his original idea, and probably is his idea, but at the same time, there is a little movie called Mischief Night from 2013 about a blind girl who has a killer stalking her outside her door when she's all alone at night. And the premise of that film and the actions that are taking place in that film are almost identical to what happens in Hush. And I have to think that Mike Flanagan has at least seen or heard of Mischief Night for him to come up with the idea of Hush, because the two movies are so similar. The only difference is one can't see and one can't hear, and that is it. Now, I'm not saying that Mike Flanagan is completely ripping off Mischief Night, but somebody has to take responsibility or at least praise Mischief Night for what we got in Hush, because without Mischief Night, I personally believe we wouldn't have Hush. For those of you who have seen Mischief Night, it's not a great movie. I think what they've done in Hush, they took all the great ideas from Mischief Night and made a really good horror movie with Hush. Now, because I'm saying that Hush is copying Mischief Night, it doesn't mean I don't like Hush and I love Mischief Night. It's quite the opposite. Mischief Night's an okay movie, but Hush is an excellent movie that really took the idea of someone with an impairment, like a hearing impairment, and made a really great scary horror movie. I like how they delve into the emphasis of noise in Hush. We've got really loud noises that we can hear as the audience, and then we hear it from Kate Siegel's point of view. We hear what she hears as well, which is almost not a lot. So it tells us, the viewer, that if there's something behind her, we know that she's not going to hear it, whereas we would. They also quickly brush on the reason for her silence as well and not being able to hear. She had bacterial meningitis and the rest is history. I love my isolated horror movies, as most of you will know, and I think this is a great way of making it very isolated. We've got this secluded house in the middle of nowhere, and to top it off, the girl obviously can't hear either, so if there's anything happening around her and she's not involved, she's none the wiser. And that's what they really do well in this film. Mike Flanagan is a great director. He's great at creating a scene, creating tension for a scene and a build-up, which is what they've done throughout this film. We've got chase sequences throughout, whereas the audience hears everything, but she doesn't hear anything, and that's very scary in its own. But there's great chase sequences in this. Her jumping out of windows, trying to get back into windows. It's great from start to finish. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but yeah, from start to finish, it's got that build-up of tension throughout. There's only a couple of characters in this film, of course. We've got the killer. I'll quickly touch on him. I think he's done a great job. John Gallagher Jr. He was a great job. He done a great job, sorry, but I think he wasn't a massive character. He wasn't big, he wasn't bulky. And I think the good thing about his character is he recognises that in the film, because he's fighting a bigger guy at one point. So he recognises that in the film. So I think we can accept the fact that he's not a big character. Whereas you've got Kate Siegel playing this deaf person. I think she was absolutely incredible. She was immense. I don't know how much sign language she knew before the film, or how much method acting went into this role, but I think she was incredible. She was very believable as a deaf person. I can't praise her enough because she was so amazing in this film. Even if she wasn't deaf, everything she was doing was stuff that people would do in the real world if something like that happened to them. So I think that she was absolutely amazing as a character, and absolutely amazing playing a deaf person. Her character is a writer, and she's got lots of different endings to her stories. For example, she's got like 7 endings to her stories. But what I like about that is to implement her ideas into her real world in this. The ideas that how she's going to escape this person. We see a few scenarios where she gets killed, and before we know that it's her scenarios, we thought that actually happened. But then it cuts back to her thinking about all the different scenarios that she's going to go through to try and escape this person. I think that was very creative. Something that I really loved about this film was going back to the killer again. Yes, he wasn't a big guy, but he didn't have a motive. He didn't tell us his motive. You've got movies like The Strangers where we ask why they're doing it and they say it's because you were home. Even though that's a creepy motive, it's a motive nonetheless. Whereas this guy, we don't get to know why he's doing it unless I missed it. But as far as I could tell, there was no motive. Nothing was mentioned. He didn't say why he was doing it. He didn't tell us if he knew the person. There was no reason for him to do it, but we didn't get a reason either. And that's what I loved about this. A killer with no motive, and we didn't get an explanation as to why. My only negative for this film was it wasn't original, as a lot of people were claiming. And if it was an original idea that Mike Flanagan made, then he never knew anything about Mischief Night. It's just a coincidence. I'll accept that. But at the same time, it's not an original concept because we've seen it 3 years prior. At the end of the day though guys, although it wasn't original, it was the far superior version of that type of movie. I absolutely loved this film, a lot more than Mischief Night, of course. So yes, I absolutely loved this movie. My only nitpick was it wasn't original. Everything else was outstanding. So my question to you guys is, have you seen Hush, of course? And if you've seen Mischief Night as well, first of all, let me know down below if you can see the similarities. I'm hoping you do. And if you have seen Mischief Night, which one do you prefer? Mischief Night or Hush? As always guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.